We'll have time for a few questions, if anybody has any questions, and then we have canapes and drinks next door.
So it's still too early for you to see correlations between the investment that you've made here and outcomes in terms of staff turnover and health outcomes for patients?
That's a very good question. Yes, it is a bit early to say at this stage, simply because we know that our staff turnover rate is within the independent industry standard. It's certainly lower than what's in the NHS, but it's a lot higher than we would like. We have also found that staff that did not buy into the concept of service excellence and didn't identify with where we were going and what we wanted to do, either decided to move themselves along, or in some ways they were moved on. And the second part to answer that question is our recruitment strategy is not what it should be. We've moved a long way now to recruit, starting to recruit based on our values. So instead of just a normal interview and looking at your skills and asking you questions, we ask staff to, or prospective employees, to identify and why, how do they identify with our values and articulate them. And if we feel that they don't, we employ them. That's just slowly starting to come to fruition now. So it's still early days, but I am of the opinion that those that were going to be assassins of this program have gone. We're now in a lot better place than we were even 6 months ago. I'll take that answer the question.
Thank you. And there was a question.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. It's really interesting. Sort of related, have you got any KPIs in place that you can measure the differences? Because you're talking about getting the compliments. It's very easy to put KPIs to hard stats for, I don't know, number of operations or whatever might be going through or successful. But from this point of view, the service excellence area, I find it quite difficult to actually hunt down on KPIs and what you put anything in place.
Yeah, we do a couple of ways. The first thing we did is, before we started the program, which I didn't mention, is we did a staff survey, which was undertaken by Dale, and we collated the results. And at the end of the 5 modules, at the end of 2013, we did another staff survey. And then we had a look at the difference in the shift in staff's beliefs, perceptions, etc. And I think Dale can, because he's independent to me, I can say all sorts of nice things, but perhaps you can let the audience know what you felt had been the change between the beginning and the end. So that was the first KPI.
Yeah, I mean, well, we have to put some kind of benchmark in place to begin any process. So with either employee survey, but also looking at customer feedback and beginning to understand where the position of the organization is first. And then you will put various positions. Because you are very right, employee engagement is sometimes an intangible. And interesting enough, sometimes, well, this led from a conversation even David and I had once in your office. Yeah, even removing KPIs from it, I just feel something different. And sometimes I think that as a leader, that inspirational leader in you, when you are truly embraced and engaged with your culture and really truly understand your customer feedback, you'll know there's a change. So that's one thing that's maybe the intangible. But you'll always have to put some measures in place in order to look at budget and look at the viability of doing a project like this. So some of it is around employee engagement, looking at your recruitment and sickness rates is a very big one to look at. Because if you have very high sickness rates or long-term illness, that with engagement those do drop. Because people are happy to be at work. So you have to find as many different barometers within your own business that you can determine in order that you're able to then measure them. But it is about constant measurement. I'm afraid you look when something's working and not working.
So we did that. The second one we did was to help touch on sickness and absence, and our sickness rate was running quite high. And we put in place a KPI to reduce our sickness and absence rate to 2%. And that, when we talk to staff already the heads of department about that, but again, that's impossible. How are we going to get from 2.25% to whatever it was about 2.3% or something like that, and to 2%. We showed them the cost of sickness, which is just the cost of the person being sick but being paid. But there's the hidden cost of actually backfilling not all of the posts, but many of the posts. So the figures we were showing them were slightly understated on the financial side. And we decided that we're putting together a corporate KPI, which was to reduce the organisation's sickness and absence rate to 2%. And I'm pleased to say that we actually achieved that and we took it from our financial year runs from January to December, but we measured this from the 1st of April 2013 to the 31st of March 2014, simply because we started the modules within that time period. And I'm pleased to say we actually achieved that. And we achieved it quite successfully, and it's made a huge difference. So I do go on to believe that that's part of what Dale says is true. Staff are happier to be at work and less wanting to take time off because they're not engaged. We've continued that for this year is to maintain our sickness absence ratio of 2% and if possible lower. And then the third mechanism which all hospitals use is you use an independent organisation to measure patient satisfaction ratios. And we obviously have the Bupa of one of the few insurers that actually give you that feedback too. And we set ourselves, which is slightly lower than I wanted, was an overall patient satisfaction ratio of not less than 95%. And that covers a broad range of about 6 indicators, things such as cleanliness and food and so on and so on. And I'm pleased to say again that over the period that we measured it, again we were consistent 1 April to 31 March, that we were sitting around about 98%. Just under 98% as an average across all those disciplines. And so I don't say that categorically that is the true measurement. Those were some of the key KPIs we put together to measure the success. And the other one was the fact that it was mandatory to attend is a statement in itself, but to actually make it happen is a different thing. And with really the help of Bridge, where we said, because you've got staff coming and going. So, some staff started after we completed modules 1 and 2. What do you do now? You stick them into module 3, but they haven't got the message from 1 and 2. And so we had these catch-up sessions, which Bridge were very happy and able to provide with us. And so we set ourselves another target, was to say that by the 31st of March this year, 100% of our staff have to have been through modules 1 to 5. And without saying that we achieved it with give or take about 5 staff. And I think that was another remarkable thing, because staff first were apprehensive about going, to be honest, and then they couldn't wait to go. They all wanted to go. And I'm not going to blow Dale's trumpet, because we use others to deliver the program with Dale. And you get a mixed bag. Some staff love Dale, some staff love that person, some staff say, well, they both would. Any one of them. But staff started to want to go because they realised that it wasn't a training program. They weren't being given a manual to go and read and be tested on. It was fun. It's interactive. They do stuff. And the other thing I didn't touch on, which helped in terms of making them want to go, is we mixed it up. So I go to a module with people from all disciplines, and I don't like to say levels because we're all the same, but throughout the organisation. So people's only sitting next to someone saying, I know your facts, but I don't know anything wrong. Where do you work? And so we suddenly had staff starting to talk to each other from all over. And that made another difference to I want to come. So those were the KPIs we've used. And I must say again, we've done module 6 and 7. And module 6 was probably a little bit difficult because we had a gap from finishing in about September, October last year, and we picked it up again in, I think it was Marchish. So there's a bit of a gap, and that we've realised if you leave it for too long without reinforcing that message, program loses a bit of momentum. 6 was a bit of a hassle to get going, but 7 really came home again. The staff loved 7, and I think this module 8 would be another key moment. And I honestly think that we can demonstrate, and we'll do another staff satisfaction survey, and I hope that it shows a further improvement. It's not long enough to answer your questions.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it then.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Noble. Just a couple of related questions. You've touched upon those points. first is, hot-on effect. When all these staff are getting all this attention to these training programs, they're responding to them. And then you said there was a gap in module 6, and things diminished a bit, and you have to pick up the momentum again. But what happens when all these modules get over? That's the first part of the question. And then the staff are changing again. For 3-4 years time, you have 25% new staff maybe. What about those people? And then at some point in time, you might decide that you need another job, and you go off to your next challenge. What are you going to do to ensure that the service excellence and the qualitative difference you're creating sustains itself?
Good, very good question. I can answer some of them carefully.
And I can address some of them as well to help.
Your first or second point is really important. It's about, we're coming up to the end of 8 modules now, and we have new staff starting now that have been through none of this. So we thought, well, how are we going to do this? And we decided that the best way to do it was to change our induction program. So now our induction program on day 1 of induction, and we try and get staff to be inducted within a week of joining the organisation. We were pretty bad. When I first was doing induction, I had staff there for 2 years and coming to induction. So what am I doing? So the first day of induction is a little bit from me about the organisation, our history and what we stand for, a little bit about our hospice, a little bit about our Catholicity. And that's about an hour. And then the rest of the day, that first day is modules 1 to 5, delivered by Bridge. So they all wrap it up into, they were 2.5 hours each, those modules, so now they're doing 5 modules in a much shorter space of time. So the staff are then told, this is the way that we expect staff to be, this is who we are, this is our attitude to delivering service and what service excellence to us means. And we want you to recognise this is what it's about. So they kind of get inducted into, okay, we're in this program and we're running it. And subsequently as well for staff that have joined and have been through that, and have missed, say, modules 6 and 7, we again have a catch-up. So now when we do module 8, we have a catch-up session 6, 7, and 8. So then staff, all staff, get up to module 8. Staff that join when we finished 8, we've decided we will do a 2-day program where they'll get a whole day and a half, I think it is, I might be wrong, to do all the 8 modules. And that's a big ask for us, because that's taking staff out of the organisation and money to take them through, so that we don't let anybody who comes into the organisation not get what we've embarked on. And we're very clear about that everybody has to do that, so they've got to buy into what we're doing. To sustain it, I think is going to be a challenge. It is about a culture change. It is about staff believing in that what we're doing makes a difference, makes us stand out, and makes people want to come to us. And I don't know if any of you here are in the healthcare business, but I can certainly tell you that 2013 was one of the most difficult years we've had. The first 6 months were diabolical. It was like the whole market had collapsed. And we were seriously, as a single site, single organisation with no big brother, just we have a board of governors who meet 4 times a year. So we actually are running our business. I'm responsible for that. And that's why I said I'm a custodian. We thought to ourselves, where are we going to end up with this? We can't sustain this. We don't have such deep pockets. So it was a really trying and testing time. But the second half for us was from the sublime to the ridiculous. We just took off, and we haven't stopped. And I speak to other CEOs of hospitals, and they'll say, yes, we also do well, but they're not. I know we are doing better. I know we are busy. And consultants tell me, I want to come to a hospital because of who you are, the quality of care you give, and just your attitude to business. So I think it's about embedding that culture in staff, getting them to believe that what we're doing is the Claridge's model, and letting them buy into that. It's not easy because you will have churn, but I learned a big lesson in, as I said, the sort of 6 months. That we let it, we did, it was like, we've done so much, let's just take a breather. Then it's Christmas and it's New Year, before you know it's March. And it was wrong. because you, as the leader, you've got to drive it home day in, day out, as hard as it is.
Can I also address something to that as well?
May I just add something? Yes. I worked in High for 10 years. Before that, I did process excellence and service excellence in 10 different industries. And what I found the key to making change stick was, someone mentioned key performance indicators. You have the measurement of those indicators embedded in the process, in the way you do things, so that every day, every week in, week out, there's feedback on how you're doing. And it's not that people are answering surveys or things like that. The data is being picked up in the process, so that there is not just the indirect feeling, but this tangible evidence of that change making to take place. And if it starts slipping, again, there's tangible evidence to say, hang on, something's not right here. Let's try and figure out what's going wrong. And that is what I've seen makes the change stick and survive people coming and going. I think that's the next stage where this program might need to go.
So one of the things we did, which might add to some of that, which is a bit controversial, I guess, at times really difficult, is we said to staff, I addressed the staff and I said, we're going to introduce 5 corporate KPIs. That if as an organisation we deliver, we meet 100% of those KPIs, every single staff member will get a bonus of £500. We talk about 500-ish staff, maybe a bit more, will each get £500, irrespective of who you are. And those 5 KPIs, were some of them I mentioned, was get our sickness absence rate down, so there was a bit of an incentive for them to do that. 100% attendance through these modules. It was 100% of performance appraisals, because we do appraisals every year. So every staff member had to do an appraisal, which identifies their needs, training needs and development needs. It was the patient satisfaction of not less than 95%. Fitbit has got as far as I'm thinking. But we had 5 KPIs. We met them. The staff got their £500 because they didn't believe them. I said, how are you going to do this? And we paid it. They all got it in their this year's April paycheck, including their uplift, which is similar to what the NHS do. And we said, you know what, we'll continue this in 2014. With the same measurements, we're going to add the next one is that it's self-paying. So if our budgeted profit is £1,000 for the year, the bonus cost us £200, we have to make a surplus of £1,200. So we can pay the bonus and we still need budget. So there's your incentive. And things such as sickness and absence and patient satisfaction are key to enable us to deliver a 5-star service. The staff have worked damn hard, and I'm proud to say we delivered on those 5. 6 staff didn't make it in modules, we made it. And I agree with what you say. There's a long way for us to go. It scares me as to how we are going to continue this journey. It scares me that I may not be there, that sometimes as a chief executive, it's not your choice. I want to be there, and I want to continue this journey, and I've got lots of ideas, but it's a massive effort. Every single day you've got to be up against it. I sometimes am crazy because I see things that I wonder why other people don't see. So I take on board what you say. I don't have an answer, and I would be totally wrong to stand up and say we've got all the answers. I said at the beginning, we've only just started the journey. I'm really excited about it. It scares me that we've taken an organisation quite far. There are many, many hurdles to overcome. And if you've got any ideas, help me.
Well, I could lose one.
Yeah. But just to address that one point back again, is that is what one of Bridge's philosophies is always be handing over funds. Because we don't want to have an organisation totally dependent on us. For 2 reasons. It doesn't keep us fresh if we move in. But also, it should be part of our philosophy to be able to the organization. So, when you look at excellence making a difference, it has a logo, it has a name, it has a mission, it is a brand. So it's a brand that sits inside a brand. So that's really what you are creating, is you're creating an employee and employer brand that sits inside your business. So it behaves like every other brand. You can have KPIs on it, you can have anybody, it grows and shapes if it's organic within your organization. So it doesn't have to be training. It could be excellence awards, it could be speeches, it could be many things. So that's why what we do as a business is we create an employer brand for you to have in your business that you develop alongside us until it becomes self-sufficient. That inherently, as it grows, should then look at you focus on your employee, your recruitment, your induction, all should have the same premise as your internal brand. So that's really when you're saying, do I need to be here, David? No, we don't need to be here. Excellence making the difference becomes something that doesn't need always us to control it. It has a personality and identity of its own. We are founders and we are working and we are growing and shaping the child. But if you create a very strong internal brand that you use both for your employee and your employer brand, then no, you don't need to always be that. It's like the brand didn't need 150 years that a hospital started somewhere. So
Yeah, the other thing we've done, which I didn't mention, is we've identified about 60 staff, which is the heads of department and their deputies, as staff that will go through what Dale says. Ultimately, and they've already done this, quite a bit of the coaching sessions and various other programs and initiatives that eventually will, out of 60, we might end up with, I don't know, give or take, say 20 champions, service excellence champions, who will be able to deliver what Bridge have been delivering themselves internally to our own staff. And that's what Dale says, it should perpetuate itself.
it's a brand, and a brand behaves like any other brand, whether it be a commercial brand or an employer brand. If you believe brands are alive, which I do, then you have to grow and organically shape them. So the KPIs sit inside the brand, like it does everything else, because the brand has its own behavior. And then that's where, to go back to your original question, do we need to be there? No, we grow and shape the brand. I think the founder of most organizations, as they eventually have to retire. But when they retire, the brand doesn't have to go, because the brand becomes an identity of its own. And I believe that, and when looking at that logo, the color scheme even of the logo, it is the hospital blue and the pink is the hospitals. And the hand is the hospital and the heart is the hand is the hospital and the heart is the hospitals. And it's the two of them shaping and growing into one. And so even it has its own storyboard. It's not just a pretty logo. That logo itself is an identity of the two organizations joining as one, with one vision of the offering services. And that's where then you begin to shape an employee brand. Did that help address that? Thank you. And there was a question here. And then we're going to do some drinks, I think. Did you get Richard? I'm sorry.
I did. I was going to ask a version of sustainability, which I think you addressed really well. But could I just focus on one little bit instead, which is this invitation to go to the module. I really love the idea of a personal postcard. It's very personal and it's very inviting and welcoming and I think it's great. I haven't come across it before. The only thing that I'm curious about in your context is it's a mandatory programme. Did you have anyone who said thank you for the kind invitation, I've rolled up up? The notion of an invitation, I wouldn't have done it for a mandatory programme, but it's worked okay for you, has it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about it like that.
I mean, I love it.
But you can't refuse. So.
Yeah, I mean, how did you then, do your this is mandatory, you had over 99% attendance?
Well, yeah. I don't know if I can answer it that way. We decided that it had to be mandatory because it had to touch all staff. So they were told that from the beginning. How did we make sure that they knew what session to attend? Because as I said, we just mixed it up. We got heads of department just to booking that, and we created a system that just booked their staff in. It was on a first come, first served basis. So it was, although it is an invitation, it was more, this is your module that you're going to, this is the time that you are, and session you are to attend. And at the back of that invitation it had a couple of words about the module and what we would do. So it was, this is the journey, and that's your time slot. So
it sounds like the context of the invitation was through the management line, so that
the number one thing that we often get with training is if you're a facilitator in any way, you say, what would you like to get today? My manager told me I had to be here. So the invitation is very timely So it's basically telling them in advance of this, it gives them a little bit of information. And it's designed to make them feel like a participant, as opposed to, and then all of a sudden, the mandatory never became an issue.
It's not. It's
It
not a
never even
problem.
been brought up, because they were invited to be a participant. And I am working on this project, we do it with most of our programs, a form of invitation. And yeah, it's really about getting that participation from people. And interesting enough, with David alluded to earlier, the first people in Module 1 who came had a different opinion as, training and stuff like that. But that barrier broke down and down and down, and people were so excited to be coming and looking forward to the modules, and because they were a participant in the building of the culture.
And yeah, I think little things as well that can help if you want is one of the things we did in the module. I forget what it was called, the survival game, and it was Dale listed 20 objects that you had, and you were stuck in the desert, and you had to choose. I forget how you did it.
Oh yeah, but we had to choose them as a group.
They had to decide what items they could only take, say 10 of the 20, and they had to decide as a group which 10 they would take, and what was the most important to the least important. And that got through to staff so quickly. They said, you've got to go to this module and do this survival game. It's fantastic. And then Dale came and said, okay, this is really the answer. This is why you would take this item, etc. And so because it was interactive, people started to talk about it, say you must go because it's actually quite fun. It's not a training. It's not about saying you must do A, B, and C. It's learning about ourselves and then working with groups of people that potentially you wouldn't come across in that context. You might see them from time to time, hello, that's it. Now you are going to be involved with people that, from catering through to management, through to estates, to porters, to car park, to concierge, all together.
But it's also developing a program, because the complexity of a program like this, it sounds, we can talk about it, but it's being fun. Everything has to have a reason. And layers and layers and layers of deeper learning, and the subconscious is what we're working to. Because it's not just saying, let's do a fun game. It's about what are the deeper layers of learning, and how do they embed into the culture. Because what you are doing with each one of these, and how everything has to link on a storyboard, it's growing a child, and the culture is growing. So, and I think this is not to sell Bridge in any way, but where I think a lot of organizations fail is people think they can do it themselves. I would not be a doctor because I don't know medicine. I would not go and start digging around in my own teeth because I'm not a dentist. And I think a lot of people kind of miss the point of what is the specialism of employee engagement and culture. And that, whether it be me or other specialists, it's not about training. It's not about things like that. It's about truly understanding the organic movement of a culture and what you need to do to move it to the next level. It is a specialism. And I think that sometimes a lot of organizations go in for, let's throw some training at it and it will be okay. It requires storyboard after storyboard after storyboard before you can actually see what links to what in order for you to achieve the other. So it can be done internally, but it's not just let's throw some training at it. You really have to understand that you're moving a culture. And so one training program will do, and that's what we've experienced here, we've experienced it with this recent client in America, is culture does not happen overnight. The director of sales said to me at a dinner party a couple of weeks ago in Palm Beach, she looked at me and she said, Dale, this exciting and fun, but it's been painful. I didn't realize it was so difficult to move a culture. People just think it's a bunch of training. Yeah, you're moving a culture. That's a difference. And I think that's something, moving a mindset in the belief structure. Training is for skills. It's not for growing into a culture. I think that's what we've seen. It's an investment. Shall we grab drinks and some canapes and we can continue chatting in there? So the bar is right next door. Thank you so much, David, for your time. And obviously,